And I think I'm live. I'm hoping I'm live. Um, yeah, and welcome to day one on, yes, he says I'm live, on my week on anxiety. So you will have the pleasure of my company Monday to Friday at this time, 8:30. The videos will be in the group, no, on the page. So you can access them at any time if you can't make it live, so don't worry about that. There's a couple of things I think I need to say before we get into the nitty gritty. One, you can comment, feel free. Just be mindful that it's an open page, so I can't guarantee confidentiality. But you can message me privately if that's something that you would like to do, and I'm happy to answer any questions that pop up from tonight's live. I'm just checking my Facebook page to see if I'm actually in the right place. Please comment, post, ask questions, because yeah, the more interaction we have, the more questions that I get asked, the more I can answer, and the more support and help that we can pass on between us all. So a few ground rules first. One, I've already mentioned about the confidentiality. I do have a private group. I've renamed it this week. I've took my name off it, and it's now called Anxiety Stress Mental Health Support Group, which kind of says what it is on the tin. So you can find that. There's links on the open page, so you can find that and join that. And I wanted to just spend a little bit of time talking about therapy versus support and what's the difference. Obviously, I can't give therapy on an open page. I do online therapy, but I can't do that on an open forum, if that makes sense. So the the things that I will be talking about is general support as opposed to individual therapy. I can talk about individual issues if you want to share. I'm happy to do that. But one of the things I often talk about are the three principles. And sometimes people get caught up in the specifics of the three principles. Will it work for obsessive compulsive disorder? Will it work for general anxiety disorder? Will it work for depression? Will it work for overthinking? Will it work on helping me in my relationship? Will it work on lots of things? And the answer is yes. Because what the three principles does, which is what I use in my coaching, is that it's an overarching thing. It's about being aware of how we work as human beings. So if you're a human being, then it will work and it will help you to kind of make sense of what's happening sometimes. And I know for me that helps me. I get that this is an open page, and I want to be as honest and authentic as I can be while I'm doing this. I tend to share more in my private group than what I do in the public one. And I'll talk a little bit about maybe why I do that. Um, During this first evening, which I think is us just getting to know each other, I'm just writing something down that's just popped in my head so I don't forget. That's the other thing you might find out with me. Yeah, brain fog. Sometimes there's so much stuff going on in my head that I think, oh, I've got to remember that, and I must remember to say that, and don't forget to say that. That I write notes everywhere. Literally, my desk is just full of post-it notes and bits and bobs and things that I think are really important. You might not, but I do. So yes, therapy versus support. If I'm seeing a client and I'm doing a therapy session, often I use my transactional analysis psychotherapy training, which I love. There's lots of theories, there's lots of diagrams. I'm not sure whether I've got any here, but there's lots of things that make sense to me because I'm a thinker. That's often how I connect with people and how I relate with people is through my thinking. So yeah, I will always refer back to my training. The three principles came to me quite late on in my training, and it just made sense. Just living life being human. How does it work being a human being? We're quite complex creatures, really, in our thought processes. But sometimes we need to just put that to one side, put the logical side down, and just look for a feeling, just explore something new. I talk a lot about exploring, I talk a lot about being curious, being non-judgmental and non-critical. Those are things that you will be fed up of listening to by the time we get to Friday. But hopefully some of it will make sense and will sink in for you. So I'm just going to check my phone to make sure that there's no messages on it as we speak. Something else I feel like I need to share with you, which maybe I shouldn't do, but I am going to do. My eldest son helps me with my social media, although help is used in the very broadest of sense, because what he actually got me to do tonight, on the first night of doing my week on anxiety, as if I wasn't anxious enough, was to make me go live on YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So I've actually got 2 computers set up. One's going live out on YouTube, which is over here. So I'm kind of sideways on one, and the other one is in my group. So I said to him, when he said, oh, I've set up a YouTube live for you. You need to do that as well. I'm like, you're having a laugh. As if I'm not going to be anxious enough doing this live with I don't know how many people are watching. I hope there's more than one. I've now got to do 2 and get them both on at the same time and answer questions. What if there's questions coming on YouTube as well as Facebook, and how am I going to do this? And sometimes I think he does it on purpose, just so I can talk a little bit more about what it feels like to be anxious. But there we go. So as I was saying, I want to be honest and authentic on this page as much as I can do, without obviously breaking confidentiality with my family and clients and things. My family are used to me talking about them, to be fair. So yeah, I probably will talk about my family while I'm doing this. But it got me thinking about what people want or expect from a therapist or a psychotherapist or a coach. So yeah, feel free to post, because it might be helpful. Maybe I'm doing this all wrong. That would be an interesting thought. But yeah, and the only way that I could describe it was, in my head, what I did was to compile a list of who am I, which might sound a bit weird, but at the top of the list was a human being. And I think sometimes clients or even friends think when you're a therapist or a psychotherapist that you are in psychotherapy mode 24 hours a day. You're just analysing everyone and everything. And it's not how it is. One, I'd be exhausted if that's what I did. I don't give friends and family therapy. And I'm saying this in a light-hearted way. People that know me know that money isn't the be-all and end-all of my life. But I don't charge them. They don't pay me. So I'm not gonna do therapy. Not that you can do therapy on anybody, but I'm not going to do therapy on them. There's ethics and rules around therapy. So the first thing is that I'm a human being, and being a human being means that I get stressed, I get anxious, I overthink, I get sad. I'm going to swear. It's my group, it's my page, and I'm going to swear. Shit happens. I get triggered. I respond and react exactly the same way as everybody out there does. The fact that I'm a psychotherapist does not mean that I am immune to the things that life throws at me. And I'm okay with that now. I didn't used to be. I didn't like sharing a lot of my personal stuff. One, because that's got to do with my personality type, which I will cover later on in the week. Drivers and all that psychological stuff that goes along with it. So I tend to not share a lot of myself generally in life. So yeah, that's the first part, being a human being. And I'm not sure whether that impacts on people sometimes. That, am I supposed to have it all figured out? Am I supposed to know how how all this works and not feel anxious and not get overwhelmed and not overthink and feel sad and have all those wonderful emotions that we have as human beings that come and go and ebb and flow, and sometimes we get them all in one go, bang, 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 and we don't quite know what to do with them. So yeah, first on my list is being a human being. Second on my list would probably be being a mum. I've got 3 children. My eldest is 32 and my youngest is 15. So yeah, my second would be being a mum. I speak about my darling teenager quite a lot. This is where I break the confidentiality bit about my family. So yeah, he's 15, hormones raging, he's going into his final year at school. So yeah, the parenting trials and tribulations is another thing that plays quite a big part in my life. And again, I'm not perfect at doing that either. It might be third time round, but God, things have changed from when my eldest, who's now 32, was born, and my youngest, who's now 15. The social media wasn't around as much. TikTok, Snapchat, WhatsApp, Facebook. I remember when it wasn't even Facebook. Was it Bebo? Yeah, I'm showing my age now. I think Bebo came out before Facebook came out. So yeah, all that's changed. So first, I'm a human being. Second, I'm a mum. Third, what would I be third? Probably a daughter and a sister, a member of a family. That's kind of the next bit that I'd put myself. And basically what I'm saying is that me as Jackie is quite far down my list on who I am and who I show to the world, which I got quite curious when I was thinking about that, because then that led on to me thinking, well, what do other people see when they see me? What am I meant to be? So I wanted to start off this week on anxiety and be completely honest with you that yes, I have times where I feel anxious. I have times where I feel overwhelmed. I have times where life events happen and literally throw me a curveball. I get triggered, usually by a certain person, but we'll not go down that road quite yet. We need to get to know each other better before I say that. So yeah, I get triggered. The difference with me now, where I am in my life, one, I've kind of matured and got to know myself, so it doesn't shock me when I get triggered anymore, because it's kind of like, oh yeah, we're doing that thing again, Jackie. We know how this works, we know how it pans out, we just have a rant and then let it go, and that's how it is. So I'm kind of comfortable in my own skin now, which is nice. But there's also the bigger picture of this, that I know how it works. I know how being a human being works now. I've got the key, if that makes sense. And I would love to pass that key on to you. But I feel like a bit of... Did you ever watch that film, Grasshopper? You know, there was a sensei who passed on all his knowledge to his younger apprentice. We need to take it slowly. This is a free course, and I hope by the end of 5 days and listening to me ranting here live, that you start to open up your mind to the possibility of something that might be quite different to you, that's out there. I'm not sure what I was talking about then. Yeah, just who I am and how authentic I'm going to be. One of the things that happened this week that I thought was quite interesting, and I've commented on, because I'm doing a lot around anxiety lately. I've joined some groups on anxiety on Facebook, and I think there's some brilliant ones out there, which again is free support. But I would just be mindful about opening up a lot of information about anxiety. I've said that I'm a human being first, and I've noticed that for the past few weeks, I've been feeling more anxious, which is really interesting. I was a guest on an anxiety support summit that was run by 2 brilliant chaps. There was 25 speakers on there, and I did advertise it and push it on my group because I thought it was brilliant what they were doing. But the more I was thinking about anxiety, you know, whether it was with clients or doing lives or those sorts of things, the more anxious I felt. I noticed I was more sensitive to my changes and anxiety, let's say, which I thought that's quite interesting. What's going on there? So joining lots of anxiety groups, Googling anxiety, the causes, the symptoms, the medications, what we can do, self-help, all those sorts of things. Just be mindful that the more information we're looking at, the more we keep anxiety right in front of us and the focus of our attention. So we're going to be thinking about it more. We're going to be more sensitive to it, maybe. And that's certainly happened for me over the past few weeks. But again, because I've kind of got to grips with myself and how things work, that I know when I'm researching something or when I'm looking more into something, that I'm going to be more open to that. The other thing I started saying about, you know, I've joined these groups and I've been commenting on these groups, and one of them did a post today about wearing masks and how that made them really anxious, and they had, you know, anxious feelings. I want to say panic attack, and I know obviously the title of this is, you know, a week on anxiety, but I just want to be mindful that I don't want to be triggering anything for anybody. So yeah, just be mindful. I am talking about it. If you want to private message me afterwards, that's absolutely fine, and I'm happy to do that. But they were talking about having to wear masks now, and I'm not sure whether they were in this country or another country. And I kind of smiled to myself because I had the same thing. And again, it relates to that, who am I? And I know I'm a human being first, but as soon as Boris, good old Boris, said that we needed to wear masks in shops, I had a bit of a reaction to that. And all the week I was thinking, oh, I've got to wear a mask when I go shopping. I've not worn a mask before. It's not something I've ever done. So there's just little thoughts about it. And then they kind of got a little bit stronger as the day was coming. It was a big shop day. It was on a Friday, so I was going shopping on Friday to do a big shop. And I put it on. Well, no, actually, that's a lie, because on the trip to the supermarket, my breathing was going, yeah. I do a lot of that when I'm feeling anxious. And I noticed that. And I noticed I was getting a few sensations in the chest area. And I was just musing over this when I was driving to the supermarket, because I knew what it was. I knew I was having thoughts about having to wear a mask before I went in, and I was a bit apprehensive, and I was a little bit wary and all those sorts of things. So I wasn't quite sure how this was going to pan out, because I hadn't done it before. And I know that there have been times in the past where that would have got hold. I would have had another thought on top of another thought that would have made that into something bigger, but I didn't. I just noticed what was going on. Put the mask on, went round the shops. The only issue I can honestly say that I have is because I wear glasses and because the mask is here, and I must breathe quite heavily because my glasses kept steaming up and I couldn't see where I was going. That was the only real issue that I had, other than I was very hot. And my daughter's a dental nurse, and I said to her, I says, why do you get hot when you've got a mask on? I know when you have a hat on your head, that it holds the heat in, but what's that all about? So anyway, the shopping trip went. I managed to get all the goods that I needed, and I came home and everything was fine. But I'm sure I'm not the only one, judging by the comments that were in this support group, that is having thoughts around the changes that are going on at the moment, having to wear a mask, having to social distance. You know, when do we go back out? When is normality? When can I hug my friends and my grandchildren and meet up and things? So there's lots of unanswered questions. And one of the things that I want to kind of say to you is that we don't need to have all the answers. Having all the answers doesn't mean that we've got it all sussed out. I used to think that I needed to be in control of things, and it's an illusion. I wasn't in control of anything, um, and COVID has just proved that within 24 hours everything kind of shifted, and it was all different to what I thought it would be. Somebody put a meme up, and I thought it was really good. A lot of therapists say, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And then they kind of work back from that. Where do you see yourself in 3 years' time? Where do you see yourself in 12 months' time? Where do you see yourself in 6 months' time? It's quite a therapeutic thing to do. And this meme said, I'm sure when people asked in 2015, where do you see yourself in 2020? This wasn't it. And, I'm not making fun of the situation that we're in at the moment, but none of us foresee this coming. None of us, all the what ifs that we have when we're feeling stressed and anxious. Oh, what if I make a fool of myself? What if I get it wrong? What if I mess up? What if I make a mistake? Nobody could have foreseen this. This wasn't one of my what ifs. What if in 2020 X, Y, and Z happened? So often we overthink things because we're kind of trying to protect ourselves and be in control of the situation, because it gives us a sense of security, which is often a false sense of security. So I hope that's kind of introducing you to the topic a little bit about what I will be talking about. The other thing that I will constantly be saying, I'm just going to have a mouthful of coffee because I'm drying up, is that our thoughts create our feelings 100% of the time. There is never a feeling without a thought going before it, and sometimes that can be a little bit confusing for people. It was for me. It took me a long time to get to grips with that there is always a thought. I'm thinking anxious thoughts, so therefore I am feeling anxious, and that kind of makes out that it's a conscious thing, that I'm consciously thinking of anxiety, so that's why I have an anxious feeling, or I'm consciously having angry thoughts and that's why I'm feeling angry. The reality is that the thought is very, very subtle. It's not a conscious thing. Sometimes it just pops in our head. I read somewhere that we have 60,000 thoughts a day. That's a vast amount. We can't possibly consciously think all those thoughts. A lot of them are just random ones that come in and we don't pay much attention, and they just go and that's it. One will come in and it piques our interest. It's something that, just kind of like a bit of a meerkat thing. It's just, oh, what was that? And then we'll study it and we'll bring it to life and we'll give it energy, and then that creates something bigger. And that's what we do as human beings. Certain things will resonate with us and other things won't. We'll just let them go. I'm not sure if you've ever watched a film with somebody and your response to the film has been completely different to whoever you're watching the film with. That's got nothing to do with the film. It's exactly the same film. You sat next to each other, the same experience of the cinema or your living room or whatever it is, the television, everything is the same, other than your thoughts about what you're watching. So it might be something about a dog. I don't know. One of these ones, Lassie Come Home, that's another thing I'm showing my head. Where they go out in the wild and they get lost and then they come home and it's all wonderful and everything. I get quite emotional at things like that. I could cry for animals. My son looks at me as if, what on earth why are you crying? It's a dog. Well, first of all, probably it's a film. It's not even real. But then it's a dog. So we've had completely different reactions and feelings and responses to the same film. That's nothing to do with the film and everything to do with my thoughts about it or his thoughts about it. And the more we experience that, the more we understand what's going on, why we're triggered, what our thoughts are, why certain thoughts resonate with me and not with somebody else, the more we can kind of understand what living life, being human, is all about. And that links in very much, I think, with anxiety, stress, overwhelm. People often don't question why they're happy. I know when I'm happy, I don't muse over it. I don't oh my God, I can't believe I felt happy today. I haven't felt happy for such a long time, and I don't know what started it off. And I'm not making light of it, but I don't spend my time working out why I'm happy. But yet, with certain feelings and emotions, that's what we tend to do. We need to work out why we've got it, how long is it going to stay for, what caused it, will it come again, is there something I can do to get rid of it. So often when I'm talking, I am talking about the the negative side of being a human being, the anxiety, sadness, grief, depression, overwhelm, overthinking, stress, all those sort of things. Because the good stuff we don't really tend to pay much attention to. Which I could talk about that later on as well, about how our wonderful brain works and that it's not designed for us in the 21st century. It's still living like it was a caveman, which I think is quite interesting. And like I said, we always have a thought before a feeling. And when we have a thought, and I'm not talking about thinking consciously about something, like if I've got to take the dog for a walk, I consciously think that I need to find the lead, and I consciously think that I need to have the poo bags, and I consciously think of the route that I'm going to take. That's a logical part of me that's consciously working out a plan and thinking things. Thought is very transient. It just passes through. It doesn't have a form. It just pops in and pops out again unless we bring it to life. So if I go back to me and the masks and everything, there would have been a thought at some point, probably. If I'm just being vague and stabbing in the dark here, because I don't know where my thoughts come from. I wonder sometimes with the thoughts that I have. But I might have been watching television and an advert come up on fish fingers, and oh, fish fingers, I need some fish fingers. Something harmless like that. Oh, I need fish fingers. I need to go shopping. I've got to wear a mask. I've not worn a mask before. I don't know where that's going to be. Yeah, not sure I'm looking forward to that. So you can see how a harmless, oh, fish fingers, kind of leads to a chain of other thoughts that go on top of it that can kind of make us, well, there's no kind of about it, it impacts on us, and we have feelings that are attached to it then. But that initial pop, that initial harmless, neutral thought just comes and goes without much focus until we bring it to life and give it energy. And I will be talking a lot about thoughts and feelings as we go through this week, because I think once we understand that that's how things work, it's less scary. When I was driving to the shop and I was feeling shifts in my physiological state in my body, sensations in my chest, and feeling like I needed to fill my lungs up and everything. As soon as I have that feeling now, I kind of go, ooh, I'm having some funny thoughts. That's as far as it goes with me. I know that the feelings will subside because my thinking isn't going to run away with me. In the past, that wasn't the case. I suffered quite badly with postnatal depression with all three of my children, and it got progressively worse. And with the third one, I can honestly say I was off the Richter scale at times. So I'm not making light of it, and I do know how the chain of thoughts can rapidly take us to a place where we feel overwhelmed. But happily for me, that doesn't happen anymore. So going back to having the key, I think that is one of the keys on my keychain that I have that I would love to cut you a copy of, is that we can have thoughts and feelings, but we don't need to stay in that feeling place. We can just feel the feeling and let it go. And I get that that's uncomfortable sometimes. I get, because I have been there, I understand how uncomfortable and impactful that can be. But when you trust the process, it makes it less scary. As human beings, we're always trying to get back to balance. That's what we do if we don't interfere with the process. I have a snow globe that I use a lot of the time. my lovely little snow globe. If we have a thought and just have a thought and let it go, just have the thought. You can be curious about it. You can think about fish fingers. Is there much fish in a fish finger? Yeah, I'm not sure. It says cod. In fact, I got caught out the other week buying some fish because it just said fishing, but it didn't say what make it was. And to be fair, they were pretty naff. But anyway, so I can have lots of thoughts about fish fingers, and it'd be absolutely fine. That the glitter is settled. I can have a thought about going shopping that can cause me to feel a little bit different, a little bit apprehensive maybe. I've got a lot of planning to do, need to fit it in, got to sort out all these things around it, and that's what I'm doing literally. I am just shaking the snow globe all the time, so there's lots and lots and lots of thoughts. And that's what can make it overwhelming sometimes, is because we're just putting thought on top of thought on top of thought without much thought, which sounds a bit ridiculous, but when we slow it down, when we understand the process, that we have a thought, we have a feeling, and then we have a choice whether we act on it or do something with it, we can break that chain. And that's kind of what I want to explore with you for this week. Simple techniques and strategies that we can explore together. So I've not had any comments on here, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up there for tonight, because I don't want to overwhelm you. You can watch this video back as many times as you want. You can message me and ask questions as many times as you want. Don't feel like you have to get this first time around. I didn't get this first time around. In fact, it's a bit like layers. The three principles often talks about insight, and you will just have insights, which is, yeah, if you break it down, it's a sight from within. I have them. I call them aha moments, where I just go, oh my life, I can't believe that I've not thought about that before. Why am I'm going to give my age away. Why am I 54 and I've never thought that? I never knew that. What's that about? That's an insight. Those are the things that make us just look through fresh eyes. And that's what I hope for you, being a participant or watching or just experience this week on anxiety, is that you might have a few of those aha moments. Something hopefully that I say will resonate with you, that might just point you in a different direction. It's not that this is a marathon. We need to get to the finish line by Friday. I need to have beaten anxiety. That's the other thing I feel like I need to say. We can never be anxiety free. As human beings, we need to be able to feel anxious at times. It's a survival mechanism. We can be less scared of anxiety. We can kind of coexist with anxiety, but we can't be free from anxiety. We can't get rid of anxiety. It will always be a part of our life at certain times when we're stressed, overwhelmed, when life throws a curveball. So yeah, I hope you've got something from that. Like I said, if you've got any questions, you can private message me. You can do that. You can email me if you want to. Jackie, Jacci, at jackiejones.co.uk, and I will get the email. Or jump over onto the private group, which is Anxiety, Stress and Mental Health Support. And it's more private in there if you feel more comfortable sharing within a group rather than just with me. And I shall be back at 8:30 tomorrow with more things to discuss. If you've got any questions, just ask away. There isn't any silly questions on anything. I'll probably ask them myself, to be fair. Right, I shall go, and I shall speak to you all tomorrow. Hope you've enjoyed tonight. Take care.